We know him from Pokemon, we know him from Yu-Gi-Oh, we know him from probably like 100 other credits, but we definitely all know him as Goku from Dragon Ball. Let's bring out Schemmel.
At this distant location the last day, the last hour of the show, just to listen to me yammer for an hour. But I'm also honored that you would do it. And I've already forgotten your name. I'm terrible with names.
That's okay, it's Lainey.
Lainey, that's the perfect host name. It's really easy to remember. And it actually is. And I'm surprised I forgot it. I'm terrible. I apologize. Thank you for that introduction. That was great. That was really great. I don't usually... You know what's so funny? You tell me you're a therapist. I'm actually... We can do a therapy session right here. Just so you know, Professor Lainey, Dr. Lainey, I'm actually very uncomfortable when people... talk me up and then cheer like that. It makes me, I have a hard time accepting love like that. I actually do. So thank you for doing that. And I did, and with that, just the reason I brought that up as a joke, but also to tell the truth, that time it did bother me. So I had some psycho-spiritual growth here because of Lainey. Lainey's a therapist also, so we were talking about therapy backstage, and I've been in therapy like 20 years. I'm a big believer in mental health, and I think everybody needs it. Here's another fun fact before we start. I started my therapeutic journey not for altruistic reasons. I very specifically could tell that other people who were similar level of gifts and talents doing better than me because I had poor social skills, and so I did it because I wanted to realize my full potential. It had nothing to do with wanting to love other people or get along with it. Now, interestingly enough, along the therapeutic way, I developed more empathy, and it did work.
It's amazing how that works,
y'all. Isn't that work? And I got the idea.
Go to therapy. And
I got that idea from the Dalai Lama, not directly. Although last time when I was telling this story, another actress said, "You should say directly, it's better that way." And I'm like, "I've never met the Dalai Lama." He said, "It's okay, nobody knows that." And I'm like, "I'm not gonna lie." So, but I was reading the book, and one of the cool things was I was worried when I started studying Buddhism that I was doing it for selfish reasons, which is I just wanted enlightenment for myself. And in The Flash of Lightning in the Dark of Night, which is a really good book by the Dalai Lama, he talks about that's okay, because eventually the empathy and compassion will show up. So just keep digging at yourself,
part of the whole thing.
Take care of your own backyard, and then eventually it'll show up. And it did. So, because I was worried, I was like, I can't go do this if I'm just doing it for me, but it turns out that's okay. And I learned from that lesson, fill up your bank account, because when it's full, you can give to others. And I mean that metaphorically, or literally. That's why they say on planes, if you're going to crash, put your mask on first, then help the kid. I think it's a great metaphorical lesson for all of us. That's how I'll start this panel, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, and I've been doing Goku my 25th anniversary is next year, playing this character, and it's been the honor of my life, thanks to all of you. I would be sitting here if it wasn't,
protagonist on the show.
What's that?
You're the longest, most consistently running protagonist on the show.
Yes, actually, and maybe on a lot of shows in history right now. It might be. I don't know about, I haven't analyzed it, but yeah, it's possible it's one of the few people who've been doing any show that long. I don't know. Yeah. That's really exciting. And that was the plan from the get-go, actually. It was, because I didn't want a little kid such as yourself, or some little kid over there, to have to deal with a vocal change again, because they switched when they came to me. And when I was a kid, I didn't like it when they switched voices. It was very deeply shocking to me, actually. So I connect very deeply with voices. And so I told myself, I am not letting these kids down. Now, at the time, I did not know that Dragon Ball was a bajillion episodes. And I did not know that, 10 years after I was doing it, they were going to call me, and I would wake up in LA and go, "Oh yeah, the show's coming back." And I was like, "Oh shit." Not because I don't love Dragon Ball. I love Dragon Ball and everything it's given me and everything it stands for. But it's because screaming isn't fun. And it's really hard to do. But it's always worth it when I get your reactions. And I do it that hardcore because I want you to believe, well, at least I want little kids. Kids are great bullshit detectives. They know when you're lying. They're good BS detectives. And I knew that if I did not bring it like the animation looked like, which is really hard to do, little kids wouldn't believe it. I can fool older people all day. Little kids, they're not gonna believe it. And so I'm like, I want kids to wake up and think Goku might be real. Because I want them to have the power to achieve their goals. You know what I mean? That was the idea I had. As my first producer put it, for the children.
Tell us about your process as an actor, getting to that level of authenticity for the children.
With my process, I just noticed that someone has taken in a digital video playing on a backpack. And I didn't see shit like that till the movie Blade Runner, when you see people with backpacks, and now it exists. It's crazy. We don't have flying cars yet, but we're going to get there. But there it is, there I am, with Jason Douglas. He's amazing. That's actually really cool looking because of the way it's digitized with the bits, and the looks like a little light bright.
And this is the You Will Not Destroy My World.
Yes, I will not destroy my world. And that long yell after that was just totally improv because it's not in the script. I just saw him punching and I'm like, I'm gonna keep going. I'm not stopping till this is over. I was just on fire, and then I was done. It's like, is that gonna work? And they're like, yes, it's going to work. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, next line. So that's how that scene went. But yeah, so. It's just, the whole journey, I've very consciously tried to be aware of the interconnectivity of all the things like ripples in a pond. For example, one time early in my career, they had put my voice, I walked into a Target and they put my voice in a toy. Well, this thing happened the same day. I walked into a Target and all the TVs were playing Dragon Ball, and I could hear my voice echoing across the Target. It was really freaking me out. Then later in that same Target, I hear my voice around the corner, and it's me just saying a line over and over, and I walk around the corner and some kid is punching one of these blow-up punching bags. They're like, it's got Goku on it, and it's weighted at the bottom, and you punch it, and then it moves, and then you punch it again. And every time you hit it, it's got a motion sensor. It says, I will not let you beat me! I'm going to win this fight! Right? And then my mom decided to buy that, and then take it on a trip with us to visit my grandmother for an anniversary in Iowa, 800 miles in the car, to which every time we hit a bump, you'd hear the box go, I will not let you beat me! I'm going to win this fight for 800 miles. So by the end of that trip, I was really, really sick of that. However, that connects to the fact that my friend at the time, who was a biology guy, and I think about science a lot, I would lay in bed and get overwhelmed lay in bed and I'd go to sleep, and I'd lay in bed and I'd thinking overwhelming thoughts about how, like, kids are hearing my voice all the time, and their brains, their neurosynaptic pathways are forming as they're becoming people, and my brain, my waveforms are being impregnated into those those synaptic pathways permanently. And then I almost passed out. I was so like overwhelmed with like how weird that is.
You've been there forever.
Forever. And now, 20 years later, they come with me and they act the way someone would act if they were hearing that forever. And it freaks, and I was like, whoa, this is what it's like. It's like freaking me out because I play with time a lot in my head, so I'm always thinking about, you know what I mean? I don't know, Lady sparks a lot of my intellectual things I want to talk about because I know she's a therapist. I'm like, I'm going to tell her all kinds of things. Anyway, so let's do some questions. That's some weird side stories there as we start. And I want to thank everybody for coming out. This is by far the most surreal and weird con I do, and I love it because I happen to love the surreal. Like I'm signing in a hallway, which is awesome. The hotel is weird and awesome. Everybody has to drive 35 miles an hour because they're really upset about the speed around here for some reason, which bothers me as a car enthusiast because I'm going to drive fast. Sadly, I won't be living here as long as the police keep the speed limit at 35, precisely. Yeah, I'm having a great time. I love Pensacon. It's beautiful. So let's do some questions.
Favorite transformation?
I tend to connect the character, I was never into the transformations, ever, until recently. I tend to connect the character in base form, so when Goku's hair is black, I'm the happiest, because that is where I meet the character, that's where I feel most grounded, and every other form is a form adjacent, is away from that, and so I feel less and less connected to the character. However, in recent years, I have really come to enjoy the red-haired God mode due to the type of energy Goku uses, which I discussed with the Japanese team at one point because I was very curious about it. They said some interesting stuff. And then also Ultra Instinct, and then Gogeta from the Broly movie. Because I wasn't into Gogeta until the Broly movie, and then I'm like, this is lit. Like, all right, I love this Gogeta. This is great. And I love playing King Kai. But yeah, those are my favorite forms to date. Thank you. Great question. Let's go back and forth so that it's fair, yeah.
What was your reaction when you had to like voice act like in a lot of episodes?
Oh, my action was like, all right, well, there's kids in the room, so I'm not going to drop an F-bomb to my producer. But because the day, it was a non-union show, and so they were really breaking a lot of rules back in the day, and I would do 12-hour days in a row of screaming. And when I could still do that, I was in my 30s, so it was like, they go 10 to 1, 2 to 6. Because I'm flying to New York, I live there, and they go, oh, we're behind, we got Cartoon Network deadline, can you come down for a week or two? I'm like, yeah, so for 10 days straight, they're like 10 to 1, 2 to 6, 7 to 10, go home, do it again. And that was like in the middle of all the Super Saiyan 3, it was like, geez, what was that? And then what sucked is I worked really hard to get that Super Saiyan 3 thing working really right by timing it all out, putting it together, and they're like, oh, we're going to do the whole show again. It's called Dragon Ball Z Kai. And I'm like, But I looked at it as an opportunity because I wanted to tweak the character, and I was a better actor because it was my first audition, and so I got better at the role, and I wanted to settle the voice into what I do today, which is what I did on Kai, and I also insisted on Japanese scripts because I believed in the power of the original story, and I wasn't thrilled with the fact that and then I understood why Funimation did it. That was the trend back in the day that we call it the Pokemon formula, which is make it as American as possible, which we don't really, Funimation and Crunchyroll doesn't do anymore. But at the time, so I didn't really understand the true power of Dragon Ball, meaning Goku and Vegeta's relationship, the real deeper nuanced meanings of everything until we did Kai. And then I was like, oh, now I get why this show's so popular. Because when I was working on it, it was a little... It was nebulous to me as to why it was so popular, and I didn't quite get the story elements the way I was supposed to because we were watering it down and changing it, making Goku this Jesus-like superhero character. I probably should say that at church. This superhero-like character, this savior, I'll use that. He was like the savior type character, and Goku is not. Akira Toriyama's made it very clear that he just likes fighting the strongest no matter what. And as if the Earth gets saved as a result of that. So I like to say Goku is like Quagmire, but instead of ladies, it's fighting. Just replace ladies with fighting. He's like, giggity, is there a strong fighter? I mean, that's Goku. I mean, and he's clear about it. And I like that as an idea, because it's a much more, and Akira Toriyama, when he came up with it, he was like, I thought that was a more interesting hero, instead of the classic Joseph Campbell, hero in the myth, standard story, you know what I mean? And so I thought that was it. So it makes Goku seem kind of like a selfish hero. And if you look at some of the storylines, it's like, wait, I know there's a danger, but let's let Gohan get charged up because it'll be really cool. I'm like, okay, you think it's going to be cool, or you think it's going to be whatever, but that might blow up. It's a little selfish, Goku. But yeah, that's a great question. Sorry, I digress. Thank you. Next question. That's all right.
I know you were like in music and you played French horn and you taught.
Taught music, yeah.
Were you a band director?
I was not. I was thought about it, but I like playing. Most band directors over time start sucking at their main instrument, and I really like my main instrument, so they tend to, over the year, they just don't have time to practice anymore. So I thought about it. I was a brass clinician. When I was a horn teacher, band directors would bring me in, and I would kind of function as a band director, teaching the brass sections, sectionals, and kind of organizing everything and doing some large ensemble directing and conducting, but. Yeah, I've done that a long time. I thought about it, but I ended up doing this, which is a surreal story in its own way.
You see yourself getting back into music?
Here's the deal. I was playing. Chris Sabat loves Voice of Vegeta. He loves Mozart, and I was trying to record the Mozart horn concerti for him, and I bought a horn and I was doing it, and then I got really sick over the last 5 to 10 years off, and I didn't know it, and it was actually affecting my lips, and I couldn't play this last year. I was trying to play it, and it was really bad. I had an invasive fungal infection in my body going on for years. I didn't know. And so they finally figured it out, and last month I finally been getting sleep like I haven't in like 10 years. I'm like, oh wow, I've been really sick for a long time and didn't know it. And I was just getting sicker and sicker. And then my doctor found out I had hemochromatosis and some other stuff. So I'm on the mend, which is why I have more energy today, because like the last 2 years have just been killing me. And then my doctor we finally got it sorted, and at least this part, but there's still some risk, because when you stop taking the medication, it can grow back if your immune system's not on top of it. Then you can get really sick and almost die. So I'm a little nervous, but I think I'll be all right. It's been a long journey, and I couldn't do it without you guys. So I'm really grateful for that. So
we're really grateful you're here.
Thank you. It's really great.
Grateful for your doctor too.
Yeah, and I'm doing better. So thank you. Yeah. So that's a good question. Where'd you go? He left. Okay, John. Next person. Yes.
Icon and inspiration for many generations.
Thank you.
A Dragon Ball fan. And welcome to the city of Pensacon. Let's give him a round of applause. Everybody! Okay, my question is, how does the relationship go between the Funimation and the Japanese company Toei? And what is it like working there?
Well, I mean, I don't work at Crunchyroll or Funimation. I'm a freelance actor who's employed by them. And I'm not familiar, I have worked directly with Toei before, and I've worked in the room with Funimation and Toei before, but commenting on their relationship would be inappropriate, but also I really can't, because I don't really know their business dealings and how they do it. The only problem that's, anytime you're dealing with a Japanese company, it's traditionally been difficult, and I'm sure they feel the same way about us. There's a lot of, it's on the other side of the world, so until we had digital access, getting materials has been challenging. translation communication's been difficult, misunderstanding what they want versus what we want. So a lot of times negotiations go on a long time just because of cultural and language barriers and things that we don't understand. And so that's the only problem working with any company, and I'm sure they're frustrated. It's the same thing. It's just about communication and language. Is the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. But I love working for them. I realized that when I was a kid, a lot of the Japanese shows I watched were produced by them. Because I went back and watched them, like, oh my God, Toei made this. Oh, that's so awesome. And now I work for them. So I'm a freelance guy. When I work, I'm working for Crunchyroll, and Toei hires Crunchyroll to do their stuff. And Toei has an office in the U.S. and they're critically involved with all their properties here. And that's become a more important thing for them in the U.S. since the last 5, 6, 7 years when Dragon Ball blew up. And so then that's when they built offices in L.A. and they're expanding and turning Dragon Ball into a global brand. So.
And you have an office Funimation in Texas.
What's that?
Funimation has an office in Texas.
Yeah, they're an office in Texas, which is now Crunchyroll. Yep.
Very well, thank you.
Thank you.
2 questions. One's very quick, one might.
Thank you for specifying the parameters and the lengths of the questions in advance.
The first question is, what is your favorite food?
Well, before I got a horrible gut disorder, I loved eating everything you're not supposed to eat. I used to like to drive into gas stations and get all, those giant, this is not my favorite food, I'm just going to talk about food for a second. I'm talking about, not my favorite food, but foods that slowly killed me. Well, those weird ass burritos you get in a convenience store that just have a fire burrito, and it's got and then there's like a blue liquid, and then some other bag of chips made by somebody. That is what I'm going to buy on a road trip. I'm like, what is this weird food? I'm going to eat that. And I like drinking things that look like I shouldn't be drinking them. Like, this is neon blue. I just think that's great. All of that is really bad for you. And so, but of the foods I could eat when I was not sick, I lived in New York for 10 years, and every day, I probably had 2 slices of pizza every day. I would get a margarita pizza, and then I would get, and I'm a burger guy, and then if I'm snacking, I would take Entenmann's cookies and Doritos and eat them at the same time. Like, I will do that. I'll eat cereal weird, I'm just a weird eater, and now I can't. I just wake up, I have meat, and maybe some fruit or some vegetables, and then I don't eat, and then I have maybe Thai food for dinner. I can eat that. I like Thai food a lot. For healthy food, I love Thai. Yeah, no gluten, dairy, I do Thai food. I really like it. And I'll do stir fries. And during the pandemic, that was all I could eat because my doctor tested my food sensitivity. He goes, you can eat chicken and vegetables, and that's it. So every day I was doing stir fry in my house, every day during the pandemic. And my left arm got really strong because I had a big cast iron pan. And I remember after a while, I was like, man, my arm's getting really strong. This is great. So I'm not doing stir fries these days. But yeah, and I do like sushi quite a bit, that sort of stuff. So, I like good food is what I like. Fun story, Sabbath and I are very similar in a lot of ways, but we're disparate when it comes to food. And they're like, oh, you gotta try this, this is great. I'm like, I hate this, Chris, this is awful. You gotta try this, I hate that. But every once in a while, we'll recommend a food that we both like. We're very different ends of the spectrum on food. Yet we make very similar artistic choices. Half the time I'll look up something online and I go, oh, you gotta get this. He's like, I already have it. It's like some synthesizer. He's got a bunch, now Chris has a bunch of synthesizers. He's an electronic guy, so he's got you go to Okatron, there's 15 synthesizers just on the wall when you go to Okatron Studios. You just play them. Yeah, he's really into electronica and stuff like that, so he knows that stuff really well. Anyway, thank you. Oh, the second part, the lengthier question. Yes, the second question.
That is, who do you think would win, Gogeta or Vegito?
I get that question a lot. I get Goku versus Superman a lot, but Goku, Vegito, in theory they should be equally matched, I don't think I've been posed that question before. I have no idea. I haven't really thought about their power levels, and Katara versus doing it naturally. I haven't really thought about that. I'm going to think about that for about a year, and then I'll get back to you. What do you think? What do you think would be stronger?
Gogeta, probably.
That's what I'm going to say. Because I'm biased, but anyway. Thank you.
What's your most favorite role that you've played? The second part of that is, what is your most favorite line from that specific role?
Well, my favorite role, of course, is I'm a little bit biased for Goku, but Goku is kind of in a separate category from all my other work because it was the first audition. It's kind of in a separate bubble. Because people are like, well, of course you're going to say Goku. And I'm like, well, it's my favorite role because of this, and meeting everybody, and because of what the show means and how it affects people. But as far as fun to perform, I would say I would in Dragon Ball, I like playing King Kai a little more. Keep talking that geeky swine. Currently, I love being the Monkey King and Monkey Kid. It's like my dream role. It's the story I've always wanted to tell, even though I'm not writing it. And it's the character I've always wanted to play. I'm the original voice of the character. I'm not taking over for anybody else. It's not a dub. And I get to tell this mentor story, which is at my age with no children. It's a story I've always wanted to do and be a mentor. And I'd probably be a really lame mentor like the Monkey King is, you know? And so, what I'm currently playing, yeah, that would probably, playing the Monkey King is really a lot of fun.
What's your favorite line from the Monkey King?
Oh, Monkey King. Oh, gosh. Well, I'm trying to think. There's one where he's like really badly lying. And he's like, I killed so many demons. I mean, I was fighting all the time. He was just lying, you know? And so I just love to just make him really glib and goofy and douchey and, you know, just like Jack plays the Monkey Kid, completely differently but equally douchey. So we're a perfect match in that regard. Jack's amazing at that, his character. Alrighty, it's a great question. Yes?
One, when you make a commitment to your 3-year-old son, you honor it. He could not be here today. He's actually the kid that you told to go back to bed the last time you streamed on Twitch. So I am game that, that's me. But he wanted to meet you, and he wanted to give you one of his 2 favorite cards if he wanted you to pick.
Well, why is he not here today again? Why?
He had to stay home with my wife.
Oh, he had to stay home. Okay. Is he in trouble?
No.
Oh.
He actually was very well behaved, but
oh.
when you made the comment earlier about you want to portray a character that there's generations that can connect with it to a level to where it's just real.
Yeah.
You are real to him.
Oh,
and that's why he wanted to do this. He can even say your name.
Well, I'm honored. I'm touched up. You can bring it up. It's fine. Thank you. Yeah.
That's so nice. Thank you. Please tell him. Oh, wow.
What's your son's name?
Tanner.
This one's for Tanner.
All right. So we're just doing one part, right? He was giving me one. I'm not taking both of these, right? Okay, perfect.
He wanted to give you 2 of his favorites. He likes this one because this is when you title him Vegeta in the face.
Yeah, no, I love that scene. Yeah, I love that scene.
This is the power run when you go to fight him.
Yes, I do remember this.
This is from Series 1 First Edition, limited print, secret rare Goku S.
Wait, what's his name again?
Tanner.
Tanner, that's right. Sorry, I get a terrible memory of these things after 50. At age 50, it's just going to shit. I can't believe it. I'm cursing in the church. I gotta stop that. I'm so sorry. I really am. I'm a big fan of cursing, but I shouldn't do it in a church. This is wonderful. So I'm keeping this. Thank you, Tanner, if you're out there. Thank you. I'm sorry to get to meet you. If you're going to see this panel on somebody's YouTube later, thank you for this. I will cherish it always. I'll talk about it on my stream, actually. I will mention Tanner's name on the stream even until we go back to bed. Okay, good. Well, I love people I get really glib on my stream. I'm always joking, but I like to get really glib. Thank you for this. This is wonderful. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Give my best to Tanner. I'm sorry I didn't get to meet him. I'm going to be in Jacksonville like in April, I think, or something. So I'm going to be close by Florida again.
Okay.
In April, so maybe we can meet him there if you guys can get to Jacksonville.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Can I ask a Dragon Ball question?
Oh, yes, of course. Go right ahead. Yes. This is nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a very valuable card, but he doesn't.
Oh, I can tell. No, I know they're valuable. I've got 2 bricks I'm still trying to sell that are they're unbroken bricks from and I know this is in the proof set. This is definitely worth some bucks. It definitely is. If I sign it, it's worth more.
I was like, he's probably going to pawn it anyway, but he said, I don't care.
That's very altruistic and that's a great moment for him as a kid. That's a really important moment, you know?
He asked all day, can I have my Goku cards? Can I give him his Goku cards?
Aww.
I said, we'll go to see him. And I said, hey, how long is the line for Mr. Schemmel? Oh, about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. And then he said, I'm tired. But my Dragon Ball question is, there is somewhat of a relevant empathy, I'm assuming, that connects when you are voice acting with certain characters for certain scenes.
Certainly.
So my question is, between the 2 scenes, which one do you think is more emotionally or empathetically connected for you? Which is the scene where Goku sees Krillin die for the first time and transforms, or when he's told by Zamasu in Black that Chi-Chi and his family was murdered?
Well, those are also different points in my life, and they're recorded very many years apart. And what was popping into my head that I actually experienced more empathy on, in terms of connecting to the tragedy of the situation or the character, was in Super when I think Krillin and Goku were trying to, that series of episodes where they're apparently trying to find some herb for the witches, and it's really just weed, I think. That's what it looked like. The plant, me and Sonny were like, I think they're just looking for weed. I'm like, yeah, we're not saying that. Because the plant looked like it too. And when Master Roshi was dying, and he was really upset. That's when I was really hurt. And I don't know what happened in that scene. I'm just channeling the history of the character and how it feels. And I think partly unconsciously, I didn't have a lot of experience playing Goku where I'm developing scenes where I'm being nice to Chi-Chi very often, or she's being nice to me very often. But Master Roshi was like his first surrogate father, who after Gohan is killed, Grandpa Gohan. So, and I know that martial arts teachers can become like fathers too, because I've taken martial arts, right? And so I'm like, well, that scene hit me the hardest, more than, well, Krillin was pretty intense, like more rageful, how dare you kill my best friend anger, versus the maybe later Goku was more upset about it. He didn't have time to cry in that moment. He was just furious,
Really, really mad, as he says.
Yes, exactly. And so I would say that of those two scenes, probably Krillin, it's probably like Master Roshi, then Krillin, then Chi-Chi, in terms of, that's my answer. Thank you.
Over here.
Alrighty.
So I want to change it up a little bit.
Change it up!
A card game I really resonated with that still resonates with me, even though I haven't played it in a decade, is Yu-Gi-Oh! And you voiced a lot of characters in GX.
I did.
You voiced, I think, Professor Crowler, Professor Viper.
Oh, did I do Viper? What did he sound like? I forgot what Viper sounded like. Military. I can't remember what voice I did for Viper.
It was deep. I can't
deep.
remember.
I know I did a deep voice. Then what else? Then I did a Gamma Yellow.
You did T-Bone and Mad Dog.
Yeah, Mad Dog.
T-Bone, the Mad Dog.
And then I did Gamma Yellow. And then, yes, they would bring me in every week to do something else. I'm like, okay.
So how was it when they approached you? It's like, hey, we're going to start you off with Crowler, but then you were like, hey, let's add this one, and they're all going to be distinctly different. Like, how did you approach that, and how did you feel about doing all those different roles?
Well, I mean, every voice actor, I think, has a thing they like the most about voicing. Some people like the sound of their own voice. Some people like whatever. Me, and they say, choice is not voices. A big thing in the industry is like, acting is more important than, I love this card, acting is more important than your voice that you're doing. I don't disagree with that, but I come from the school of, worshiping Mel Blanc, or Mel Blanc, people call him. I've heard it's correctly pronounced Blanc, but I don't know if I'm right about that. And so I'm a big believer, like, I was disappointed I got the role of Goku when I got the part, because I didn't know he was the lead character, and I had auditioned for Captain Ginyu, and I changed my voice a lot for that, right? So I was like, damn, I'm not Captain Ginyu, because to me, the fun part of voice acting was making my voice real different. Because I love the idea of doing lots of different voices. So that's something I personally, not every voice actor is like that. Some are, some aren't. Some people like doing accents, some people are great at accents, some people aren't. And so the process is like, we're going to start you off this. That's not how it goes. It's more of, they don't know what they're doing, I don't know what I'm doing, and we're all finding this out together on a production schedule. And so the interesting thing about the story is that when I auditioned for Dr. Crowler, this is how I hustled. I was out of town doing a convention. And I do shit like this. They'll call me out, and I'm like, well, we got an audition. I go, I'm out of town. And then I call them and say, hey, I'm out of town. Will you please hold the audition? Let me come in on a separate day, please. I really want to audition for this. And they go, sure. They let me do it. So I went in there, I saw his face, I saw the imagery, seen little properties, and all of a sudden this light started coming on. I'm going to do this. And that's what I decided to do. And I'm getting very, very proper. But then, what happens is you don't know what's coming. So you'll show up for a session, like, okay, we're going to do Dr. Crowler today, and then we're going to do some other voices at the end. So I'm like, okay. And so we do Dr. Crowler, okay, we got this character called Mad Dog, and we're just wondering if you could do this. Or they'll have a formal audition. I think I formally auditioned for a lot of them. A lot of times it's a formal audition, they'll say, okay, we're going to come Friday, we're going to audition for these, and they'll see if you get them. Then you're auditioning all the time while you're working. But a lot of times when they're in a hurry, they're just like with the Crystal Beast Mammoth, they were like, do you do an Arnold Schwarzenegger impression? And I was like, yes, I do. And so they go, do that for Crystal Beast Mammoth. Like, okay, I do it now. And then I did it. And then everybody's like, what the hell is this? It was, yeah, it's more of an organic, you figure it out as you go process. It's not so mapped out like that for a dub. And was there, changing your voice. Yeah, that's actually a tricky thing. It's hard. I work really hard to keep a good running memory of what voices I do. I don't like when someone says, you should use the same voice. I'm like, first of all, I'm not. And secondly, I'm sorry, your ears suck. But no, a lot of times they're right. Sometimes they're right. I got to use them. And the key to that, and this is a lesson, the key to that is your voice eventually is going to sound similar to other things if you do enough voice work. The key, of course, is in the acting. I know another actress friend of mine who doesn't do nearly as many voices as I do, but works just as much or more than I do because she's such a good actress. In other words, if you're affecting the spirit of the character really well, that's the believable part, and that's why they say choices, not voices. However, I think they're both equally important, and if you can do both well, then you're a rock star. And that's what I've been trying to go for. I want to be able to not only do a voice completely differently and really well, but act it superbly at the same time. And then you're becoming somebody else. And that's my favorite thing about voice acting, is the ability to be somebody else just with your voice, which has been kind of, I'm fascinated with since I was a kid. So there's the answer on that one. Ding!
Awesome.
Thank you.
Answers over here.
All right, you're lucky. We have time.
Yes.
What was your favorite show? What show did you enjoy making the most?
Enjoy making? Well, this is an interesting lesson. So there's two different ways we do cartoons. There's what we call dubbing, right? And then there's called prelay. And prelay means we're pre-laying down the audio, meaning we're going to record the audio first, and then they're going to send it somewhere and animate it to our voices. But with the dub, it usually comes from a foreign country, and then we have to make our acting fit the flaps, which is much more restrictive than having the freedom to just do whatever I want. Interestingly enough, I've done both, and you're saying, what's my favorite show to act in? Well, it also depends on whether or not it's a dub or whether or not we're prelay. Prelay records tend to be more fun because you're working with, usually they have all the actors in the booth, and so you're hearing the other characters, and you get to actually kind of do a little play there. But dubbing's fun because you get to see the animation, right? So you get to see both. So if it's a show that I really like Monkey Kid, where I get to do a prelay, then that's like the best of both worlds. I'm on a show I really like, and I get to do prelay. But as far as dubbing Dragon Ball is a lot of fun. Dubbing, I would say, let's see, my favorite show to dub? Well, as a dub actor, you like dubbing shows that don't have mouth flaps. So anytime I've got a character that doesn't, has a mask on or his mouth doesn't, I'm like, oh, this is going to be easy, this is going to be great. I hope you're following all this. I'm trying to explain it clearly, but basically it's like, there's whether or not you like the show, and then whether or not you like the way you're going to work that day is what I'm trying to explain. And so they each have pros and cons. I tend to like the prelay stuff more because I get to be more free with my choices as an actor. But then there's drawbacks because sometimes they animate my facial expressions or my vocal facial expressions or my screaming differently than the way I think it sounds, and I'm better at interpreting visuals for my voice than artists are better at interpreting my voice. So I prefer to do reactions to picture and prelay words. There, that's my answer. I know that was a complicated answer for a little kid, so sorry. But I try not to talk down to kids. I try just to talk to you like you're a person, because you're getting it. You're going to get it. You're going to figure it out. You're going, what? But later you're going to get it. You are. Your brains get it. Trust me. Mom recorded it, so when you're older and you play the explanation and you're doing this sort of thing, you say, oh, now I get what he's saying. Yeah, he's doing the prelay. Yeah, I get that now. That's awesome. All right, kiddo, what are we doing?
Of all the anime that you haven't played, what is your favorite anime character?
That I haven't been in?
Yes.
I would love to have been in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I would love to play. I'd love to play JoJo Star.
What character would you be?
JoJo Star. I love it. I love it when they're mid-battle, they have to talk about their personal feelings. Like they're and then you hurt my feelings when you killed my family member, and then this caused me to oh yeah, what? They have a therapy session mid-fight. Like it blows my mind. I'm like, you guys are in therapy when you're punching each other. It's so hilarious to me. And then they do the prog rock, which I'm a big prog rock fan. So.
Sean, we've got 5 minutes.
Yeah, let's do it.
We've got 2 options. We do one more long question, or we do a lightning round and get everybody to currently.
Sure, we can try. I'll try to do quick answers.
As quick as possible.
Do it.
Over here.
Did you ever pass out?
Yeah, Super Saiyan 4 Kamehameha Dragon Ball GT. Never on Super Saiyan 3.
Over here.
Favorite saga to voice in?
Favorite song to what?
Saga.
Oh, saga. Not the saga, but the entire Goku-Vegeta relationship arc, which is my favorite saga. Without that, you got nothing. I think it's really important, which is why when they try to make me play Goku more like a proud Saiyan warrior, I refuse unless it comes from Japan. Because the Americans try to do that sometimes. I'm like, no, that's Vegeta, and unless it shows up that way from Japan, and that's how I'm playing him. He's the idiot. So, yes, lightning. Lightning round.
Over here.
You're the next one. I'm just trying to get restaurant with it.
Okay, so...
Next question.
Okay, so many times times have you screamed for Goku? Have you ever gotten, like, has your throat ever got sick from that?
Yeah, I've lost my voice, certainly. Yeah. Oh yeah, all the time. But not any like real laryngitis, just like a day or two. It's always recovered really well. I've been lucky that way. Yes, sir. Lightning round.
So how long did the superhero movie take long?
What about it?
How long did it take
For us to make it?
Yeah.
Well, to dub it only took, I think Chris was the director. I think he dubbed it in like 2 weeks. He dubbed the whole thing in 2 weeks. And then to make the whole film with animation, many months, possibly a few years. I know that after the last movie, the animation director told me they were in the early planning stages of the next movie several years ago. So it takes a long time to do all the animation. The dubbing can be done very quickly. Yes, question. Lightning round.
Over here.
Naruto got would kill.
So greatly reduce this question. How do you prepare for episodes that you know are going to have a lot of screaming in them?
I don't until I get there. And so what happens is, I get there and I look at all the lines and I go, this is the last screaming, guys, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do all the clean lines first, then the screaming, and then King Kai. Because I can always do King Kai no matter the state of my voice. King Kai gobbled it up so much. Don't get you mad. All right, lightning round.
Probably redundant, but what is your favorite part of voice acting?
This part, you guys. My favorite part of voice acting. This is the best part. All the people I meet, everybody I get to see, and everybody so nice to me. It's so cool. That's my favorite part. And how I affect you emotionally, hopefully, if I do, yeah.
Japanese voice actor of Goku, and was she nice?
I am the voice actor of Goku, and I am nice. Wait.
Japanese.
Oh, Japanese. The voice actor for Goku is Matsuko Nozawa. It's a woman, and she's wonderful. She's a legend in Japan. She is a wonderful feminist story about how she fought for her role when they were going to replace her, because in voiceover, usually women play little boys because their voices are similar, and then when they age up, they switch to a guy like me. But in Japan, they also do that, but when they were about to replace her, because I got to ask her this on a panel, I asked her, I said, what happened? And she said, well, they were going to replace me, and I called the creators and Akira Toriyama, and I said, I would like to audition for adult Goku and keep my role. And so they allowed her to do that, and they were impressed, and they kept her. And the rest is history. Now, I think she's the only woman voice actor to ever do that in history all over the world, perhaps. I'm not sure, but that's pretty amazing that she was ahead of her time like that, and very impressive. And when I'm around her, she's got more energy than me, and she's 86. Like, she's really kind of a magic person. So I've been the pleasure of meeting her on a couple of occasions, and taking the stage with her at Madison Square Garden in front of 8,000 people for the Broly. No, it's for the Broly premiere. Yeah. And that's it. Sometimes I'll do multiphonics to stretch out my vocal cords, but I talk so much and I talk so loud, I'm kind of always naturally warmed up, and also I have to be awake a certain number of hours. So they want to schedule me a 9 a.m. session. I'm like, no, that means I'm getting up at 8 or 7. No, my voice isn't functional till 10. Let's do noon. You know, they're like, no, and I'm like, okay, fine. So I gotta do a big face ultimately. But yeah, I don't do a lot. I probably should do more. And the main thing is I don't do a lot of vocal warm-ups, but I also am very keenly aware of my technique in the booth, so I don't damage my voice. So I use a lot of proper skills. I don't half-ass in the booth when I'm thinking about how to control this apparatus. Because you're thinking about this, and emotions, and the script, and the video all at the same time. And it's almost like in the Matrix when the beeps hit, you just kind of code your brain, you go, and you go, and then you hope it comes out right. And when I first started, it would take me like 12 to 22 times to get a take right, and now I do it in like 1 to 3 times. But that would be true of anybody in this room. You're just going to get better as you get going. You do something 25 years, you're going to probably be better, you know what I'm saying? So, I think I've got one more guy, and then we're going to wrap it, yes?
Right here, last question, make it a good one.
Willing to do audible books?
Oh, what's that?
Willing to do audible?
Audible, like, are you talking about the book,
Yeah, like R.C. Bray, or something like that.
You mean you're talking about,
Audible.
Audible books, like recording books? Are you asking me if I've done them before?
Or would you?
Well, here's the deal. I'm an award-winning audiobook narrator, and I've hardly done any of them because I'm really good at it. However, I hate it. And here's why I hate it. The first book I did, it was a really fun book, and I won an award for it. It's called The Big Splash by Jack Ariello or something like that, or Arella or whatever. And it's a kid's book, and it's like a kid's detective noir mystery, and I did lots of different voices in it, and they shoot each other with
with, you know, squirt guns with cat piss in them, like that's the lethal weapon. You know, it's kids, it's junior high school, you know, prankery in this book. And then Amazon and Audible just like destroyed the market and lowered the cost of everything, and so the price went down like crazy to where by the time you're done recording in your house, editing it all, and sending it to them, you're making like $15 an hour. Like and it used to be like hundreds an hour, right? And so then I did another book. I did Shit My Dad Says, which was turned into a TV show with William Shatner, and I wanted to work for that. I was nominated for that one, and then I did the sequel called I Suck at Girls, which is about his dating life. And I wanted to work for that one. I wanted like 5 books, and then they called me like, no, it's paid shit. Like, what? Why am I going to sit here for hours and read this book I don't want to read? You know, like. So I would do it again if it was a fun or interesting book. And I'm about to do my own book. I'm working with an author, and I'm making the contract that only I get to do the audiobook. You know, and then I'm going to make. I was like, you're going to pay me a lot for my audiobook. So there's not anybody else doing it. So I would do it, and every time my voice actor friends, I'm like, stop it, you're wasting your time, because you're going to work like 40 hours a week to make nothing, and you could be auditioning for bigger shows. Only actors I suggest do it if they like it a lot. Oh, the other thing that bothers me is they don't like it in most cases. I believe in doing a very different voice for every character. And they're like, well, just hint at it, because it's going to be hours and hours. I'm like, yeah, it's going to sound like I'm a crappy voice actor if I'm kind of doing this voice and kind of doing that voice. And every time I hear a book where they're kind of, I'm like, well, you could commit to it. So I don't listen to a lot of audiobooks, because I'm like, the guys that know, they're good, there's fine audiobook narrators out there, there's great ones out there, but I don't like the culture of how I want it to be like a radio play. I want it to be like a real play. Like, I want to hear a whole story. So all I got to do is visualize it. I don't want to have to like do all the work. And so, anyway, that's a good question. I didn't quite understand it first, so thank you so much. Anyway.
That is all the time
Thank
we
you
have.
guys. Thank you for having me.